Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by Alberto and Jim. How's it going, Jim?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. Just got back from Kansas City yesterday, and that was a great trip to see family and be in town during the Super Bowl, which was amazing. Go Chiefs. I'm totally a bandwagoner, but you know the truth. I'm Kansas City proud, regardless of the team. But absolutely, there may be merch that has been purchased that I would have probably never purchased before, but because it says Super Bowl on it or whatnot, then you know.
So I want to ask real quick a question because this made some big social media news during the Super Bowl. Are you from the Kansas City, Kansas side or the Kansas City, Missouri side?
I am from the Missouri side. Okay. I grew up in Raytown, which is just off of Kansas City proper.
Mama's family, Raytown.
Exactly. And there's a story behind that, and it's totally not keto related. So I won't go into that. I can share it with you later.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
threw you way off, brother. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. Alberto, how about you? What's going on?
All kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I was at Super Bowl, man. That was actually a game. I was actually very happy that it wasn't a complete blowout, that it was a nice back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was rooting for Kansas City, but I have absolutely no reason why. It's just like, I was like, I would prefer if they win, but I'm going to sleep fine either way.
Yeah.
So it was good. But man, yeah, I got a lot of things going on. This little attempted half marathon training that's turning into something.
Yeah.
Just to give you the race is next Sunday. So I got about a week and a half because, I don't plan anything. So I finally picked up a pair of shoes on Thursday, right? Started running on Saturday, and I've been running every other day. I pretty much stopped lifting at this point because I can't afford any longer recovery than what I'm doing now because I'm just not used to running. I don't run, and it is quite taxing when you completely change your entire training regimen and do something. So like I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to extend any kind of recovery time for my legs. My legs feel fine when I run, and I want to keep it that way, but I don't want to push my luck. But since Saturday, I put 21 miles on these shoes. Just getting up and running as much as I possibly can. My hunger has been through the roof. I have had to up my calories. I've been sleeping great because I am totally not used to this kind of exercise. So I think this weekend, I'm actually going to do I guess I'd call it a dry run where Saturday night, I'm going to eat what I plan on eating. Sunday morning, I'm going to wake up early, have my giant bulletproof coffee, probably drink a liquid, and then shortly thereafter, or maybe not even a whole liquid, we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to hit the streets, and I'm not going to stop running until I hit 13 miles. However long that takes, but at least I'll know what I'm in for, good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah.
And what seems to be cracking up about this is and I'll be the first to admit it's probably not a great idea, but there are two camps. So there's the camp that are like, oh, you'll be fine, you'll get through it. You're fine. You got plenty of strength in your legs. And there's the other camp that thinks I'm an absolute psycho and I'm going to end up in the hospital. But that second camp doesn't realize is that I am not above just walking half of this thing if I have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not, you are in better shape than you think you are. Probably. It's just a movement that's different for you. I personally, I don't like running because I've got all of this loose skin that bounces up and down, and it's really hard on that hard hit, that thump. It for whatever reason, it's just very uncomfortable for me. So I will take cardio on a rowing machine any day over that. For that very reason.
And I was just having this conversation with someone today too, where I was like, I think, we all know that, BMI is pretty much a joke, right? But I think I found where the actual BMI number is useful is if you're a jogger, because I am way too heavy for this business, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
What's your what has been your pace roughly for the run, Berto?
I can chug along pretty well, almost nonstop at about 5 miles an hour, which, if I remember correctly, is roughly a 12-minute mile. I mean, those numbers might be a little off because I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But the last 6 miles I ran, I averaged about 5 miles an hour, and I ran 6 miles, and it was like 62 minutes or something like that.
Okay, that's very respectable.
Yeah, I mean, downtown Austin has a lot more hills than my neighborhood, but my neighborhood has got some decent hills. So I'm just like purposely going up and down the block. So one block I'm running down a hill, and one block I'm running up a hill. But yeah, the difference between 6 and 13 miles is will be interesting.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into our guys of the week and all of that. Jim, let's start with you.
My shout out is to a gentleman who is a very regular commenter, in our group. And I'm going to apologize in advance for butchering the name probably, but M. Khalil Islam Zwart. He posted up a Transformation Tuesday photo this week after the Super Bowl. He went from 330 back in 2012 to today at 194. And last line of his statement is, never felt better in my life. And he looks younger, but he's a little bit grayer. So it's kind of well, yeah, you do look younger, but you do have a little bit of gray in hair kind of thing. So I'll give him credit for that. And kudos to him on his Transformation Tuesday post.
Absolutely. Berto?
I'm going to go with, I believe it's J. Evan Walker. He's the one who proposed the 100 burpee challenge, which is indeed a challenge.
Yes.
And then as a follow-up call out to that, because I had made a post saying, it's sustainability, it's mental toughness, it's sticking to a single routine. The physical part's the physical part, but it goes above and beyond that when you start doing these things day after day after day after day. And I learned that when I was doing that Goggins 200 for 200 challenge, which was a nightmare in itself. But you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. And as a second call out to that, Andrew Tilling started doing it, and he said he actually broke a stall from getting his 100 burpees a day in.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, someone tagged. Oh, this was on the marathon, on the half marathon. Someone tagged me on it and said, "Hey, I'd come down and maybe we can talk Chris." And I'm like, "Hell no." No. If Berto thinks that he's not ready for it, I am nowhere close to that. No, I will just stick with my happy little kung fu thing. That's what I'm going to stick with.
It's funny because I wanted to do one, but in the back of my mind, the challenge has always been there, and it's always like one of those things where by the time I see one coming up and I look, it's like $190 registered. I'm like, okay, I'm not paying $190 to run for 3 hours. But I ended up winning a free entry to this marathon, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that kind of solves that problem.
Yep.
And in true Yvette, my lovely wife fashion, she looks me dead in the eye and says, "You did this to you."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am going to shout out Clark Keithley. He posted his 39-week Transformation Tuesday photos yesterday, and he started at 3:15, and he's sitting at 2:35. He's looking great. It's one of those things that he's went from a size 50 to a 36 pant size already. And in 40 weeks, that's less than a year. He's done a really good job, 80 pounds down. Really, really good shout out, or good posting and encouragement from him to encourage others that they can do it too, because it looks like he's the type of guy that just like every other guy that's overweight, like I was at 280. Well, so thank you for sharing, Clark, and job on you. So this week we have a guest, as always. I'm probably actually not going to lead the charge on the interview today because my voice is a little weak after a week of fighting a sore throat from probably just being in a different environment. I was up in Kansas City all week, so my throat's much better now, but my voice is not doing what I'd like it to right now. So I'm going to pass it off to Jim and let him kind of lead the charge. But we have Trey Eason with us this week, and he's going to share his story with us.
Well, Trey, good evening. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, man. Well, I think one of the best things that we could do to kind of get you into the conversation here is tell us a little bit about the non-keto things, like where you're located, your age, what do you do for a living, things like that.
So I'm in Maryland. I just turned 51 about a month ago. Let's see, I work at NASA. I am the chief engineer of metrology at the NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center.
So we're going to just cut all the keto now, and we're going to talk space for the next 2 hours or so.
It's like you're almost waiting for a punchline.
I know.
NASA.
Yeah, and so I'm not a space guy. I'm a measurements guy. That's what metrology is all about. So not meteorology, but metrology. So it's like the science of measurements.
See, you just took my next joke because I truly thought you said meteorology. And so, yeah, I didn't realize there was that. So with this career, you're measuring like distance, Earth to the moon, to whatever kind of thing? Or I'm just a little curious now that you brought this up.
Well, so basically anything that measures at NASA, we do the measurement verification. And so we're talking length measurements. I get down into millionths of an inch measurement, voltage, current, basically anything that measures something, we research how to get it done and get it done right.
Wow. That's fascinating.
It sounds like it. Sometimes it can be a bit monotonous.
Well, millionth of an inch. You lost me a millionth of an inch.
Yeah. I'm imagining hanging pictures up in a living room and like a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right kind of thing. And you're like a million. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's talk a little bit now. We'll get back into the real scheme of things here. So let's talk about keto. So you've been in the Keto Man's Club for a while. You're an active contributor and things like that. How did you find keto for yourself?
For myself, keto was more of a sort of a last ditch thing. I mean, I had tried every other gimmick diet fad that there was out there. I've been struggling with my weight since, I don't know, probably the mid 90s. So, I had tried, every diet pill that's been banned so far. I had tried pretty much every, vegetarian for a while, carb restriction. Just prior to starting keto, I had been a few years on a restricted diet where I was on 8 to 1,200 calories a day. The other part of that was that I was exercising. I was doing martial arts at the time. I was doing 3 nights a week or 2 nights a week, and then 4 hours on the weekend, plus riding a bike. That was basically if I wasn't at work or at martial arts, I was on my bike or sleeping. So, I mean, I just enjoyed getting out there and doing it. So I was probably doing 100 to 120 miles a week. And then on the weekends, I might do another 40 or 50. So
were you a big guy at the time?
I was, that 252 pounds that I started at, I pretty much stayed there. I mean, I fluctuated maybe 60 pounds on that 800 calorie diet. I probably dropped about 60 pounds. The winter came and I put the bike away for the winter, and, trainer is only a half an hour a night. I put all that weight right back on. So it was just a thing. I tried everything out there. I ran across keto and I was like, well, this has got to be it. I mean, there was a couple of things that triggered it. I never really considered myself big. I mean, I knew I was big, but I never really considered myself obese. I don't know how I didn't when I look at the pictures now. I've actually even said that in one of my my monthly updates is that, I never even saw that guy that's in that picture. I never did. And now I can't unsee it. Now that's all I see in the mirror.
How tall are you, by the way?
I am 5'8".
Okay.
So you undertook this restrictive diet, and you pretty much didn't see any response to it, or is it just that you ended up with the limited response type thing where it kind of worked for a while and then stopped?
It was a limited response. Like I said, I dropped probably 60 pounds and then stalled. So, and it was close to the Mediterranean. The VA center actually gave me a meal list for maintaining my 8 to 1,200 calories.
That's just it. knowing what we know now and looking at people like Alberto, who on marathon training probably back up into the 4,000 calorie range, it just doesn't make any sense to me to be on such restricted diets anymore. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So let's walk into or towards the keto thing. How did you find out about it? What was it that kind of clicked with you about it? All of that.
Yeah, that was the way I had originally heard about it was a cookie diet. Everything I'd heard about it was craziness. But I had tried everything else. I figured I would just go ahead and give it a try, and do it a real try. So in doing that, I did a bit of research, spent about a month looking things up and getting different opinions and things like that. And I actually ran across it, the Facebook group, another one of the Facebook groups that Alberto's in as well, that they're not super strict. Strict isn't really the word. They're just straight up front and honest. So they'll tell you can do whatever you want to do, but that's probably not keto, or that's probably not clean keto. And I'm not one of those guys that can't do any other. I can barely do lazy keto, much less dirty keto.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I found. And I'm one of those guys, my science background, I tend to test everything. So first thing I did was test my carb limit and immediately had a bad reaction. So that's it. No more carb for me.
It's funny how easy that happens, and how clear cut things begin whenever you finally do strip away all the extras and minimize down to just the basics. So let's talk about the early days. What things surprised you? What things did you see happen early on? All of that.
So early on, I guess the first thing that surprised me was that the majority of people in the Facebook groups were saying, don't eat a calorie deficit, which was totally, opposed to everything that I thought I knew. But I figured I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. So I went ahead and just followed the advice. And, within the first week, I think I lost 10 pounds water weight, or not 10. First month, I lost 10 pounds water weight. And it just kept going. So I guess the next couple things that were just surprising was one morning I got up and started to get ready to go to work and got halfway out the door and realized I had not used my nasal spray. It's like one of those things that I used to do as a reflex action. And I hadn't been using it, and I hadn't been using it for several weeks. And I asked my wife, because she went keto with me as well. And I was like, have you noticed your sinuses getting better? She said, yeah. And my shoulders don't hurt anymore either. And so it was just little things, signs of the inflammation gone. My migraines went away within 2 weeks. And I haven't had one since. So, and that's been since April of last year.
So when you started on keto, was it hard to find a meal plan that worked for you? I mean, did you have the cravings and things, or were you able to just hit it hard right from the start?
So we cleared the house of all the carb containing materials. And then I kept it simple. That's what I had read to do in the groups. And that seems to work. It seemed to work for us. I just got rid of the carb, the flour, the bread, everything, just threw it out. And then got hamburger, steaks, bacon, eggs, cheese. And just basically what I would do is on Sunday, I'll sit down and make out the menu for the week and apportion my macros, and that's what we'll do. And then I just eat whatever my menu says I've got to eat. So I did that for probably the first 6 months till I got to where I could sort of guess how much I could eat. And then I decided to try to take the training wheels off. And so now I just basically eat more or less intuitively.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That worked out for you so well. And for anyone that's in the group, I mean, they've all seen your transformation. But for those that are listening that probably have not seen your transformation, once you went keto, how much weight did you lose in what time frame, and what did it exactly? I'm assuming the whole time you were still cycling and doing your martial arts or whatever activity you may have been doing at the time. Like, how did the keto affect the performance in those activities?
Okay, so over 8 months, I lost. I round it to 100 pounds, but I lost 98 pounds. As far as performance goes, on the bike, the first probably 4 months were difficult as far as anything intense. I could do the martial arts because that was more, I could actually meter myself a little bit when I'm throwing a kick and not just throw full force. But when you're on a bike and your feet are clipped into pedals and you start up a hill, you can't meter that out. So that was just something that, I realized I had to back off and slack off until I wound up getting fat adapted. And the first month or so, I was actually questioning whether or not keto was right for me for that particular reason. Because I was like, well, if I can't even keep up with, our other riders, it's not fun to ride a bike anymore. And I can't do that. So I did take that season off and just rode by myself mostly for that summer. Then the next summer I came out and all of a sudden, not only am I keeping up, but I'm keeping up in the top of the group. So at a lower heart rate. So
That's fantastic.
Were you a heavy kid when you were young, Trey?
Actually, no. And so if you'd have seen me when I was a teen, you would have never thought I'd be overweight. I think when I went into the Navy, I was 5'8" and 139 and a half pounds. And I used to have to emphasize that half pound. And I think, so I got married just before I went into the Navy. I got married really young at 18. And we had our first son a year and a half, maybe later than that. And it seems like at that point, I just started putting pounds on and didn't realize, when I was having to buy new uniforms and I wasn't thinking anything of it. And next thing you know, I'm in just larger uniforms. But the next thing I know, I'm not realizing that I'm heavy until they're telling me at my PT test that, hey, you might want to watch your body fat. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, your body fat's on the upper edge of acceptable. And this was maybe 3 years into the Navy, and I joked, I said, well, I only eat one meal a day. And he says, yeah, but it can't be from sun up to sundown. I remember that was an actual conversation that we had, and I just laughed and laughed it off. And then when I got out, it just seems like the pounds kept coming on. So, probably from the time I was 19 up until I was 49 is how long I was overweight. But prior to that, I was probably underweight.
Did you have health issues with the weight? Any heart issues, breathing, anything? I mean, you mentioned the migraines a little bit ago, but anything else?
Right. Well, I had basically what said was exercise-induced asthma. Because I'm not one who would ever give up, but despite my weight, I was, pushing myself to just ride. I can remember riding the bike, 3-4 hours, hold my heart rate at 180. And then, get off the bike, I'd be tired, but it just was what it was. So aside from, elevated heart rates, a little bit of elevated blood pressure, I don't think there was anything really weight related. And maybe that's just due to the fact that I was extremely active, even though I was overweight.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first started, or as we were talking about earlier, you were extremely active at an 1,800 calorie a day food intake, which is astounding. So when you started keto, I'm going to go under the assumption that your caloric intake went up, and at the same time, your weight probably started coming down.
Right.
So, did you have enough research under your belt to know to kind of expect that, or did it just kind of come at you like a giant surprise?
It kind of came at me like a giant surprise. My caloric intake wasn't even 1,800; it was 8 to 1,200.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so, and then I remembered seeing a couple of your posts where you were pushing the upper 4,000 range, and I noticed your height was the same height as mine. And so, and everybody else that had posted in that other group that I was in, they were like, well, I'm stalled. And the recommendation every time was to start eating closer to your TDEE. So I knew what mine was. And when I first started, I was eating probably halfway between my BMR and TDEE.
I'm going to pause you
once-
for a second. Explain what those are for people who may not be familiar.
Okay, so BMR is your basal metabolism rate, and
Uh-huh.
TDEE is your total daily expenditure. Your basal metabolism rate is basically what your body needs calorie-wise just to support daily function of breathing, heartbeat, brain function, etc.
Uh-huh.
Your total daily expenditure is your BMR plus whatever activities you're doing and what your body needs to support those activities. So at my activity level, I was putting myself somewhere between moderate and extreme, or not extreme, but high exercise.
Yeah.
But my TDEE was lower than what I eat. So my TDEE would be about 2,900, and I eat between 3,000 and 3,500 a day.
Wow. Mm-mm-mm.
So yeah, I basically tripled the calories I was eating.
And it still dropped to, what did you say, 98 pounds?
98 pounds. I'm actually back up 15. I've been trying to gain, and I think over the last 4 months, I may have gained 15, 4 or 5 months. Or not 15, 12.
So in doing this keto and getting your numbers, calculating everything, what were you eating? Were you eating one meal a day? Were you eating 3 times a day? Heavier at the morning versus the night? What was kind of your meal plan?
So my typical day would be, we have egg, I call them egg muffins, but it's basically, I would just do a casserole sheet full of eggs, bacon and cheese so I could cut it up. And so I divided it out so that a square was an egg with 2 slices of bacon and a quarter cup of cheese. So I could do 2 of those in the morning. And then for lunch, I could do, either some protein and some fat. So I would usually use like chicken and some ranch dressing or butter or just some form of fat. And then for dinner, it would just be, simple burger, steak, pork chops, and just rotate around those. Occasionally throw in a keto-fied recipe with, zoodles or something like that. But in general, it was almost carnivore. So it's really not that difficult, I didn't think, to plan. And maybe that's because I just sat down on Sundays and thought about the whole week and just put it all into the calorie thing.
And you said your wife joined you on this. Was she supportive as well at the start or skeptical?
No, she was actually supportive of it. I think she didn't really need to lose any, but she wanted to lose 20, which she did. So, but yeah, so she was willing to give it a try too.
Good.
That's fantastic. She was able to find success in it, and that you guys were able to kind of do it together too.
Yeah. And so actually now pretty much everybody in the family is doing it. My son, who's actually in the group as well. And both my sons are doing it. Then I've got some other family that are doing it. And of course, people I work with now are crawling out of the woodwork asking me how I did it.
You might have the title of the first multi-generational family in the Keto Man's Club.
That's a good point.
I don't know of any other fathers and sons or anything like that. So you can wear that title proudly, sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
So like today, nowadays, now you're running maintenance kind of on a slight bulk and, gaining a little bit of weight. What does an everyday look like for you today? Are you eating the same amount? Have you increased that a little bit? How are things going for you?
I'm actually, I guess, pretty much eating the same amount. It's like today I did the two eggs, 4 pieces of bacon, cheese, I think 4 ounces of chicken at lunch. I'd use the Frank's Red Hot sauce mixed with ranch, and then 2 bulletproof coffees, and then a triple cheeseburger with bacon because I was in a hurry because I had class tonight and the thing tonight. So it was, yeah, I'm still pretty much eating the same. I'm having trouble building or bulking. I may have to build up to, closer to 4,000 calories.
It's let me tell you. but it can be done. So you have that going for you. And what's your training schedule like? It sounds like you got a lot going on, even as far as just working out and exercise.
So basically, Mondays and Wednesdays are martial arts. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I lift. Fridays, I typically take off. And Saturdays, when the weather's nice enough, I'll jump on the bike since it's winter. If it's not nice, we'll jump on the trainer and then either lift on the day that I didn't ride or whatever. So my Fridays are my days off. And so it's I don't know. It sounds like a lot when I say it, but it doesn't feel like a lot. If I don't do it, I get irritable.
That's one of the side effects of keto is when your energy skyrockets and you start doing all these things. Everyone looks at you like you're crazy. You're like, well, I mean, it doesn't seem like much I'm doing. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
So, what's been kind of you mentioned that people have been asking questions and that you're getting a lot of attention at this point. What has been kind of your go-to tip, or what if you can sum it up quickly, what's something that you usually will give as like quick resources for people who are just getting started or who are asking those basic questions?
Can I share the other group that I'm in, or?
Sure.
Because that's where I got my start. The Keto Evangelist group has some amazing resources. And like I said, they kept me fairly honest. They have a guide to get you started. The biggest thing I can say, I guess, for getting started would be to just do it. Research it, get rid of the carbs, and give it a try. Give yourself, 4 weeks. Don't try to set some sort of a requirement that you lose X number of pounds by X weeks to prove that it works. Just get in there and do it. And once you start eating cleanly, you will feel better. You will feel healthier. And as a side effect of getting healthier, the weight just comes off. It just works.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better myself. It's even like when I first found keto, like I didn't think I had. I've said it before. I didn't think I had much weight to lose. I honestly didn't care if I lost any weight. I was just hoping I'd start feeling better, and then everything else from there just was because it was like a nifty side effect to how my body responded to my metabolism actually starting to function properly.
Yeah. You mentioned the Keto Evangelist group, and both me and Berto kind of got our starts there. So that really is a good group of folks. At this point, what goals do you have in mind? Are you seeking after a specific physical goal, or what are you looking at this point?
At this point, I'm just looking to add years of staying healthy. I originally started this to lose. I only wanted to lose 70 pounds or so. I thought my body had a different mindset. But then, the migraines being gone, the inflammatory pain being gone, the sinus issues being gone, blood pressure going from borderline high to ideal now, and cholesterol being better. And then obviously my weight, I'm looking to stay there. And I'm 51 years old. Supposedly that's supposed to be old, but,
that's not too far away, sir. So watch your tongue.
Right. I'm just saying, I don't, my goals now are just to maintain, and to feel healthier, possibly bulk up a little bit, where I may have, I went from 252 to 153, and at 153, I think Alberto's complaining because he's not at 180, and I'm the same height he is. So I'm pushing 166 right now, I think, which I think was his minimum when he said he didn't feel good about himself. And I actually do. I feel, I didn't mean it that way, but I mean, it's. I honestly didn't expect to get below 200 when I first started. So the fact that I hit 153, I was just falling over happy with myself. But yeah, as far as goals, I mean, now my goal is to just stay healthy and live as long as I can.
What were the reactions when you dropped that much weight from both your friends, coworkers, family, but also from the doctors?
So my original doctor, was okay with keto as a temporary solution. He's still, I guess, he's going to have to come around to the fact that it's okay to stay on it forever because he works for me. But friends, I don't think I got any negative responses from anybody. I had a couple of "Are you crazy?" responses, and some of my family were not prepared. They were worried about how to prepare for like family get-togethers, and my basic thing to them was just fix what you want. I'll eat around the carbs.
Yeah,
it's don't do anything special for me. As long as you got protein and fat, I'll be all right.
Unless they want to throw on a really nice steak just for you. I mean,
well,
not the
they
worst
could do
thing.
that, but
Yeah.
So, but other than that, a lot of people haven't recognized me because of the community that I work in with NASA. We do occasionally conferences, and I think I lost the bulk of my weight between two of our conferences, and I actually had several people that I've known for years walk right by me, which was fun. they walk by you, they give that head jerk reaction, and I get, "Trey, is that you?" And yeah. So that to me is some of the most fun I've had with it. And it's been mostly positive.
Good. What about your sons that you said are doing it? How's their success been?
They're doing great. So, and the thing with them is my son's actually one of the instructors at the martial arts, or my oldest is one of the instructors at the martial arts class that I take now. And so he wasn't unfit. He saw the difference in my endurance, and he's like, all right, I got to try that. It took him a while. I think he had to get his electrolytes right. And he had to get fat adapted. But once he did, and he did this in the middle of a testing cycle for his third degree. So he's doing really well. My youngest is doing really well. He's getting through his last couple of weeks at the Criminal Justice Academy here, and doing his best to maintain fat adaptation. There's been some challenges there because of their idea of nutrition, but I think he's made it work. My wife is doing excellent, and several of my friends are. I mean, we sort of almost have our own little keto group locally here.
Yeah, starting your own clan over there.
I guess.
So, what is we try not to ask what's your favorite meal, but you've already shared kind of what you ate today, I think, if I remember correctly. So, what's your kind of really your favorite or your go-to keto food?
Well, my favorite meal is a ribeye off the grill, and smothered in butter.
Hard to beat that.
Yeah. But it's, bacon, of course, is a good go-to. Eggs and cheese are awesome go-tos. When I need fat, I'll usually I keep the cheese slices and just pop a couple of those in to help boost the fat up. That's pretty much it. I'm not very complicated when it comes to food.
No, simplicity is good. Simplicity is good.
When you started all of this, Trey, we see guys that are, we've got our Keto Man's Club, and then we've got the TKMC Beginners Group on Facebook now. And everybody starts off different with this. And I can't remember if you mentioned this or not. I think you said something about 10 pounds water weight, but did you see immediate results at the beginning? Did you feel immediate results like, oh my gosh, shirts are looser, pants are looser, but the scale didn't move? What happened like in your first couple of weeks, if you recall?
In my first couple of weeks, I think I just noticed at the time I was a scale hound. And so I was noticing I was dropping probably, like a half pound a day here and there. And so that was my motivation, which it shouldn't have been thinking back on it. But I didn't really have a stall. And I know that typically you lose water weight as you burn off the glycogen, and then you have like a healing phase. And my healing phase was really short for some reason. I think I may have stalled for a week. And then I just started, the little seesaw. I'd be up 2, down 3, up 1, down 4. And then, then I decided to quit driving myself crazy with the scale.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing for folks to realize is the scale, just like any other metric, is just a metric. It's not well, you as a expert in measurements know this very well, that,
Right.
you can measure things all day long, but that doesn't always, especially when it comes to state of mind or physical health, actually have a bearing on your physical health. You can be skinny as a rail and ungodly sick,
Right.
or you can be, obese, but all your other biomarkers are doing pretty good. So it can absolutely go any direction in that regard. So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up a little bit. What would you say is just the Keto Evangelist your favorite resource, or that's something that I often do, not necessarily for just the beginners, but your favorite go-to place for information?
Well, Keto Evangelist is the primary source I use for information. I think there may be a few diet doctor links out there.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'll use Google, but then I'll also balance it against multiple opinions. So I'll pull, articles off of was it NH National Health website?
NIH,
Yeah, the NIH, whatever. I try to find reputable sources and sources that have some sort of peer reviews or groups that I know have been successful. I mean, there's a lot of groups out there, and there's a lot that for one reason or another, it's not as important to them to do clean, and which I think it is important when you're first starting at least, but once you get yourself adapted, you do whatever you want to for yourself. I just feel that the cleaner the keto, the better your results will be.
Yep, that's absolutely true. I know whenever I choose to take in things that are on the questionable list, I'm potentially stalling myself. So,
Right.
I know that there's a give and take there. And I agree with that. It's a good thing to try and moderate that ever so slightly. Well, Trey, it's been great having you on. You've got a great story, and you are absolutely an awesome resource for the other members of the groups on Facebook. You share freely as best as you can, posting, like you said, monthly updates. That's all very, very helpful and encouraging to others to say you can do it too, which is awesome. That's how it should be. So let's, any other final words, any other business that we need to attend to, Jim and Alberto?
I just got one last thing. I just wanted to make sure I added out today. I got a message from one Crooked King Ant. There was a picture of a box full of T-shirts.
Well,
so
then.
he got them done. He apologized that it took so long, which, considering this is not his full-time gig, I don't think it really took long at all. But he had the lovely weather, so it kind of delayed him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to give him a little shout out on Instagram. He is Crooked King Ant, both spelled with a K, Crooked K King Ant, and the Crooked King spelled the same way .com clothing company. And there would be nothing that would make me happier than for his Instagram account to have a bunch of likes with a bunch of dudes who got keto in their handle.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that we link that up in the show notes. He's been excellent to work through with this whole process. And so if we have a box of shirts, that means that Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to end up at Berto's house, and we're going to be trying to ship things out.
And as a little bonus, he may or may not have design number 2 for him to start working on and start pondering on how to get it done.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Well, that will be fun to see. And by the time that people hear this in a couple of weeks, hopefully we will have some posts on Instagram of people in their shirts. Hopefully that will be the case. I want to turn these around as fast as we can. So I think that's it. Jim, any other news or business that we need to attend to group wise?
We have well past 200 members in the TKMC beginners group, which is awesome. In the first 6 weeks or so of it being around. So those that are still finding our podcast after the first of the year, and you're in that New Year's resolution gig, and you're still looking for that place to be and whatnot, come check out TKMC MC beginners, answer a couple of quick security questions, and away you go. And we've got all kinds of great resources for you there.
Absolutely. All the links that you for all the groups, the pages, the resources, the everything is available at theketomansclub.com. And you can get to our social media links there as well. I am at Duckman Keto. Jim?
Jim Inman JR on the Instagram.
And Berto?
L.Keto Cholo. And I haven't, plugged my automotive finishing things, which is capital_painter. If you ever get bored and want to see what it looks like when you start making paint and all kinds of trippy, cool things that happen there.
Yep. Some of those pictures are the type that you'd stare at, if you were maybe under the influence. Trey, how can people connect with you other than the group?
Basically, I don't have Instagram. So the group or in the Keto Evangelist groups as well. I'm available there. Very cool.
Very cool. You can connect with the podcast by Instagram as well at Keto Man's Club Podcast. You can also connect with us via email, ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail. Who does that? We do, apparently. So 512-518-6161. And you can reach out to us any of those ways to be able to connect with us. If you have a question, comment, a correction, anything that you think that we might need to know, you can use one of those methods, and one of us hosts will retrieve it and respond in kind as best as we can. So, without any other business, that's it for this week. Until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.